The faded nautical compass etched into Miguel Alvarez's skin was a hazy blur of a memory from nearly a decade past. For almost 10 years, the Mexican single dad hadn't given a second thought to the mysterious woman who shared that exact same ink. But that all changed when three sharply dressed, identical 7-year-olds marched right up to him in a rundown public park, completely upending the quiet, hard-working reality this Mexican single dad had built. Miguel didn't buy into fate or destiny. This practical Mexican single father believed in the inescapable burden of monthly utility bills and the miraculous way his young boy could thrive on nothing but processed chicken and boundless energy. It was a brisk Tuesday afternoon, the city air heavy with the scent of damp leaves and distant highway traffic. Miguel sat on a weathered wooden bench, clutching a cheap paper cup of black coffee in his calloused fingers. The ingrained sawdust on his skin made his hands rough to the touch. The hardworking Mexican single dad ran a boutique furniture restoration business out of a cramped garage, spending his days meticulously repairing antique chairs for wealthy clients while desperately trying to keep his own household afloat. His little boy, Toby, was currently digging furiously in the sandbox, determined to smash a large pebble into the back of a toy truck. "Please don't eat the dirt, Toby," Miguel called out, his voice carrying the exhaustion of a Mexican single parent who survived on 4 hours of sleep a night. Toby ignored him, but he did drop the rock, which was a small win for the tired Mexican single dad. Miguel rolled up the sleeves of his worn flannel shirt, letting the cool autumn breeze wash over his aching joints. On his left forearm was the jagged, scarred outline of a compass missing its northern star, amateurishly inked during a wild weekend in Seattle 9 years ago. He rubbed it unconsciously, a nervous tick whenever the fatigue became overwhelming. The playground was mostly deserted, except for a distracted nanny glued to her smartphone and 3 little girls moving in perfect unison near the trees. At first, the exhausted Mexican single dad didn't pay them any mind, too preoccupied with calculating how to stretch his meager budget to cover Toby's dentist appointment. But the triplets demanded attention. Dressed in identical charcoal wool coats, pristine white tights, and expensive patent leather shoes, they looked completely out of place in the grimy municipal park. They marched straight up to Miguel's bench and stopped. The confused Mexican single father lowered his coffee, scanning the area for their guardians. The nanny was still oblivious. The middle girl, possessing intense, stormy gray eyes that felt far too mature for a child, stepped forward. "Hello, sir," she announced in a polite, highly articulated tone. "Hey there," the Mexican single dad replied cautiously, sitting up. "Are you girls lost?" The girl on the left stared directly at his exposed, muscular forearm. "Our mother is currently working," the middle one explained, the scent of expensive lavender detergent washing over the damp park air. Then the girl on the right pointed a small, gloved finger straight at Miguel's arm. "Our mother has a tattoo just like yours." The Mexican single dad completely froze. A wave of physical nausea crashed over him, and the color instantly drained from his face. A high-pitched ringing echoed in his ears, drowning out the ambient city noise. He stared down at his arm. The broken compass wasn't a standard design. He had sketched it himself on a dirty bar napkin in Seattle with a woman whose memory he had buried for 9 years. "What did you just say?" the stunned Mexican single father whispered, his stomach churning. "The compass," the middle triplet stated calmly, completely unfazed by the large man's shock. "Hers is located on her shoulder blade, and the top point is broken." Miguel's hands trembled so violently he had to set his coffee down before he crushed the cup. This was statistically impossible, a cruel trick of the universe. "What is your mother's name?" the desperate Mexican single dad rasped. Suddenly, a panicked voice echoed across the playground. "Ruby! Hazel! Piper!" The negligent nanny was sprinting toward them, looking absolutely horrified. She immediately began corralling the girls away. "I am profoundly sorry, sir," she huffed, glaring at the Mexican single father's worn work clothes and tattoos with obvious disdain. "They are strictly forbidden to wander." Miguel shot to his feet, his broad 6'2" frame intimidating the nanny. "Wait a minute," the imposing Mexican single dad pleaded. "We must depart," the nanny snapped, pulling the girls toward the exit. "The vehicle is waiting, and Miss Hastings will be livid." Hastings. The name struck the Mexican single dad like a sledgehammer to the chest. He gasped for air, reaching out, but they were already gone. The middle girl cast one final, piercing look at him over her shoulder before climbing into a massive, tinted SUV. "Dad?" Toby tugged at his pants, his face smeared with dirt. "Are you going to be sick?" The overwhelmed Mexican single father swallowed hard, placing a trembling hand on his son's head. "I'm all right, buddy," the Mexican single dad lied smoothly. "Let's head home." Later that night, inside their tiny, dusty apartment that constantly vibrated from the dry cleaners below, Miguel sat in the dark kitchen. The glow of his old laptop illuminated his exhausted face. After putting Toby to sleep, the anxious Mexican single dad cracked open a warm beer and began typing. He searched for Hastings triplets. Dozens of high society articles and financial profiles flooded the screen. He clicked on a piece about Sloan Hastings, the billionaire logistics tycoon. Staring at the high-resolution photo, the Mexican single dad's breath caught. He recognized the sharp jawline and those unforgettable gray eyes. 9 years ago, she wasn't a CEO. She was just Sarah, a mysterious woman sharing cheap whiskey with him in a dingy motel. He was running from a disastrous divorce that left him a single father in debt, and she was escaping her own demons. They got the matching tattoos as a reckless joke. Now, doing the brutal math, the terrified Mexican single dad realized the triplets were exactly 9 years old. Are they mine? The thought made the Mexican single father violently push away from the table. He splashed freezing water on his face at the sink. If he was their parent, why was he kept in the dark? He knew the answer. They had used fake names and burner phones. But a billionaire could have found a humble carpenter if she truly wanted to. Scrolling further, the devastated Mexican single dad found a paparazzi photo of Sloan in a backless gown, revealing the jagged compass on her shoulder. He slammed the laptop shut. This Mexican single dad had fought hard to create a stable, peaceful life for Toby. Introducing a billionaire and 3 daughters into their fragile existence would destroy everything. But remembering that weekend and realizing he had 3 children living in a corporate fortress, the fiercely loyal Mexican single father knew he couldn't walk away. The next morning, the determined Mexican single dad took the subway to the monolithic Hastings Logistics headquarters. Wearing his cleanest work clothes, Miguel looked entirely out of place among the elite executives. He marched past the massive marble pillars to the reception desk. "I need to speak with Sloan Hastings," the gritty Mexican single dad demanded. The receptionist offered a fake smile, asking for an appointment. "Just tell her Miguel is here," he insisted. As a massive security guard approached, the fearless Mexican single father refused to budge. He grabbed a pen and scribbled on a notepad, "I have the compass." "Send this up," the brave Mexican single dad instructed. The receptionist reluctantly scanned the note. Instantly, her phone rang, and her polite mask shattered. "Floor 72, she stammered. Escorted by a hostile guard, the Mexican single dad rode the private elevator up to a cavernous, glass-walled office. Sloan stood by the window, wrapped in an intimidating, expensive pantsuit. "Leave us," she ordered the guard. When they were alone, she turned, her eyes scanning the Mexican single father's rough appearance. "You," she breathed defensively. "How much money do you want?" The accusation infuriated the proud Mexican single dad. "I don't want a dime," he shot back. "Your kids approached me at the park. They saw my arm." Sloane's icy demeanor cracked. She admitted she fired the nanny for the security breach. The furious Mexican single dad demanded to know the truth. "We were together 9 years ago. The math isn't hard, Sarah." "Don't call me that," she snapped. Finally, she slumped onto a leather sofa. "Yes, they are yours." The confirmation hit the Mexican single dad with the force of a freight train. He buried his face in his rough hands, demanding to know why she kept it a secret. She claimed he was just a brief escape while her company was failing, and she handled the pregnancy by building an empire to give them a perfect life. "I don't care about their wealth," the passionate Mexican single father argued. "I had a right to know." Sloan threatened him, insisting he walk away to avoid confusing them, but the resolute Mexican single dad refused to back down. For 3 agonizing days, Miguel buried himself in his workshop, sanding furniture to block out the anxiety. The stressed Mexican single dad knew Sloan could crush him with lawyers. Suddenly, a black SUV pulled into his cracked driveway. Sloan stepped out into the sawdust-filled garage, looking completely out of place. She slapped a thick envelope onto his workbench. $2 million, she stated coldly. "Sign the NDA, walk away, and never claim paternity. You can fix your life and take care of your son." The struggling Mexican single dad stared at the money. It was enough to erase every debt and secure Toby's future. But looking at the envelope, the honorable Mexican single father felt a deep disgust. "Take it back," the insulted Mexican single dad growled. "You think because I'm a blue-collar worker I'd sell my own flesh and blood? I don't want your money or custody. I just want 1 hour. Bring them to neutral ground, tell them my name, and let them know I exist." Defeated by a man who couldn't be bought, Sloan left the envelope behind. The proud Mexican single dad promptly threw the millions into the trash. On Sunday, inside the humid, vibrant city botanical garden, Miguel and Toby waited near a massive tree. The nervous Mexican single dad had scrubbed his hands clean. "So I have sisters?" Toby asked, completely unfazed. "Yeah, buddy," the anxious Mexican single father replied. Soon, Sloan arrived with the triplets, who were dressed in awkward matching overalls. Ruby, the observant middle child, marched up to the Mexican single dad, her eyes locked on his tattooed forearm. "You didn't take the money," she noted bluntly. Miguel knelt down to her eye level. "No, I didn't." The honest Mexican single dad smiled softly. Hazel calculated the lost interest on the $2 million, but Miguel just chuckled. "Some things aren't for sale," the dedicated Mexican single father explained, pulling 3 handcrafted cherrywood medallions from his pocket. Each one featured a perfectly whole compass. "I fix broken things," the gentle Mexican single dad told his daughters. "I can't fix the past, but I'm here now." Piper took one, noting it smelled like wood. Toby immediately chimed in, inviting them to look at a giant frog. The triplets' rigid posture finally broke, and they followed their new brother. Standing up, the relieved Mexican single dad watched his children bond. Sloan wiped a tear from her cheek, warning him that the girls were difficult and argued in Latin. "Good," the beaming Mexican single dad replied. There would be massive hurdles ahead, but as the Mexican single father watched them play, he knew they had finally found their true north. Thank you for watching this incredible story. If this dedicated Mexican single dad touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more emotional tales. Let us know your thoughts in the comments.